Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your day, a part of your journey. And I want to thank you for being on this journey. Such a powerful thing for you to be investing in you, trying and growing and investing. It's so awesome. I'm so pleased and glad that you're here. If this podcast is helpful, if you're having an impact from it, please put it out there. Share it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the podcast on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these. So get it out there. Put it out there for others to experience. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you'll get a notification when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I would truly love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com. I want to continue on in this process we've been talking about showing up and the importance of showing up and how we show up for ourselves. You know, we've talked about what it means to show up. We've talked about consistency. We talked about discipline over motivation. Today, I want to go back into something we've talked about many times. You know, and that's the thing is this, there's a lot of repetition in this, and that's okay because we need to hear these things. We need to have ourselves re-engaged and have these things confirmed. A lot of this stuff isn't necessarily new, but it's brought to you in such a way that it try to make sense. Try to make sense in how we move forward. Today, I want to talk about the power of the small win, the small wins. Because usually we focus on the big stuff, right? We focus on the end, we focus on the grand, we focus on the great. But small wins are so important. Because you might be like most people. You know, when you focus on the big goals, the transformations, the breakthroughs, the end results, you can get stuck. You miss actually what creates that. Small, consistent progress. We don't go from, being 50 pounds overweight to losing 50 pounds overnight. That's not only unsustainable, but it's unhealthy. It is the small wins that we continually do over and over. That's what creates consistency. That's what creates progress, is those small, important wins. Small, consistent progress. So we want to shift our perspective here a little bit and show how small wins can completely change the way you show up in your life. Again, the big stuff is great, but it's the small stuff, doing it over and over again, that really completely changes how we show up in our lives. But here's the thing. Small wins aren't glamorous, right? They don't feel exciting. We like excitement. We like those shiny things. We like those wonderful transformations. Bigger is better. Faster is better. More is better, right? So the small wins don't get attention. They don't feel impressive. They don't feel like they're enough because we're conditioned for the big stuff. We're conditioned for the powerful stuff. So when we take a small step, a little bit, we can think, what's the point? This isn't doing anything. That's where people lose momentum. That's where progress stops. When we see the small actions as not doing anything, as not being enough, because there's a misunderstanding of the impact of the small actions. The thinking could be, this isn't making a difference, or I need to do more, or I'm not getting the results fast enough, right? When we're doing small things and they don't really show that immediate impact, we're a big splash people. We like things right now. We either push harder and burn out, or we just stop altogether. No, this small stuff just doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to stop, or I'm going to push harder. I'm going to do double. But the truth is this: big results are built on small, repetitive actions. Big results are built on small, repetitive actions. Not one big moment, but hundreds of small ones. I remember years ago, I had the opportunity to go to a PGA golf tournament in Iowa. And it was great. I was there on the first day of the tournament. There are 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm walking around. And here are these pros. And it's really early. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And they're out on the driving range with buckets of balls, hitting ball after ball after ball. Now, you don't see that. You don't see that on television. These golfers are just standing up, hitting the ball. It's going 300 yards straight out. Perfect shot every time. And that's the big moment. That's the big stage. But they're doing these small repetitive actions over and over and over again in order to achieve this big result. Okay. So we see the big results in life. We see the people who have lost the 50 pounds. We see the people who are taking pictures in the gym with their shirt off. And we think, I want to be like that. And we can be, but they didn't just wake up like that overnight. No, that took a lot of small, repetitive action. So the small wins over time, repeated, build the big moments. So the big moments are built on small moments done over and over and over again. Hundreds of small moments create that big moment. Thousands of golf balls create a professional golfer being able to hit a straight drive. Trust me, I know. I play golf, and I don't hit enough golf balls to hit a straight drive. And every now and again, I'll hit a straight drive, but most of the time it goes either left or right. So it's about having those small wins, the importance of the small wins. Because small wins do something powerful. They create momentum. We've talked about momentum before and the importance of momentum. Momentum is the energy that keeps us going once we start. And it builds and it grows. All right? And momentum changes behavior. So we need those small wins to start to create that momentum. Because when you complete something, even something small, you get a signal. Your brain says, I'm making progress. I'm moving forward. I'm showing up for myself. Even if it's a 5-minute workout or two lines of writing or one glass of water, I'm showing up for myself. I'm making progress. I'm building momentum. So not only is it something physically that feels good, it also starts to change that mindset. I'm making progress, and progress is what we're looking for. And that feeling matters because progress builds momentum, and progress can also create a little bit of motivation. It's not the other way around. Momentum doesn't start progress. Progress starts momentum. And with momentum comes a little bit of motivation. So we don't wait for momentum to happen. We don't wait for motivation. We create motivation. We create momentum by taking action, even small actions. And over time, those small actions stack. One workout becomes a habit. One page becomes a chapter. One conversation becomes a stronger relationship. You see how that momentum builds. It doesn't happen overnight. We have to pull back from this magic thinking, this magic pill that we're being fed in our world, and get away from the idea that all of this is going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, and it can't happen overnight. Overnight successes are unsustainable. Especially big ones. Overnight things are unsustainable. We want to build something sustainable. And so we build it by small, consistent actions. But in order to be able to do that, we need to be able to move out of the perfection trap. Because small actions are rarely perfect. Building momentum is rarely perfect. You know, we're in a big train town. I've talked about trains before and the importance of trains and how they build momentum. Well, if you've ever watched a train start out, it starts out really slow, and sometimes the wheels slip. They slip on the track because they don't have that kinetic energy and that connection. They slip. It's not perfect. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it happens more. Sometimes it happens less. But it's not perfect. Momentum isn't built in perfection. It is built in consistency and showing up. So we want to move out of this perfection trap. People may think, if I can't do it fully, I won't do it. Or if I don't have time for the full version, I'll skip it. How many times has that happened? You know what? I don't have time to sit down and write a full chapter today, so I'm just going to wait until tomorrow. Or I don't have time for the perfect workout. I can't get to the gym and do my hour-long workout today, so I'm just going to wait until tomorrow. That's something that needs to change, because when we do nothing, instead of doing something small, we wrap our brains in this idea that it has to be perfect all the time. And that's a real problem, because showing up imperfectly is always better than not showing up at all. Showing up imperfectly is always better than not showing up at all. A 10-minute workout is better than none. All right? A few notes or a few ideas are better than writing nothing. A glass of water is better than not paying attention to eating at all, okay? Perfection stops progress. So we need to move away from that perfection trap, that thinking it has to be perfect, and move into that consistency building, even if it is imperfect. I'm going to show up for myself imperfectly every day, rather than I'm not going to show up for myself unless it is perfect. Okay. We need to move away from that perfection trap and move more fully into the I'm showing up for myself imperfectly, because that's more important than showing up perfectly. I'm going to be consistent. Even if going to the gym means I go to the gym and I show up and I walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes and I turn around and leave. Your brain is still saying you showed up. All right. You showed up. And that's what we are longing to do, is build that consistency over time, because that consistency will build momentum, and momentum will help us show up more for ourselves than we did before. That is what we are longing for. That is how we build a better tomorrow. One little step at a time. Consistent, small wins. And so that's what we want to focus on. We want to shift our mindset from that perfection, that showing up perfect all the time, and we just want to show up. We want to show up imperfectly and be okay with showing up imperfectly. So let's talk a little bit about how we do that. First thing is lower the bar. Lower the bar. What's your standard? Your standard is probably too high. Your standard is probably closer to perfection than consistency. What's your standard? Lower your standard. Lower the bar. Instead of focusing on the ideal performance, the ideal possibility, set the minimum. Ask, what is the smallest version that I can complete? All right. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to complete it. That just means that's the minimum. This is at least what I'm going to do. Remember last time I said, if you have to do something, if you apply 5 minutes to it, you're probably going to finish it. All right. The first 5 minutes are the hardest. So what's the minimum? I'm going to show up at the gym for 5 minutes. Now, that doesn't seem very, rational. You're going to get in the car. You're going to drive to the gym. You're going to get on your workout clothes if you're not already in them, just to do 5 minutes worth of work. No, but if that's the minimum, I'm going to show up for 5 minutes. Likely, you're going to go further than 5 minutes. But what is your minimum? What is your minimum? What is the smallest version that I can complete today? That is a very practical goal, a very practical showing up. What is the minimum that I can complete today? 5 minutes of movement, 1 paragraph of writing, 1 intentional conversation. What is the minimum? This becomes your baseline. No matter what happens, you hit that minimum. Every day, you hit that minimum. The second step, track your completion, not perfection. All right? Look at what you have completed. Most people track outcomes. Instead, track your consistency. I showed up at the gym today. I was only there for 5 minutes, but I showed up. Did you show up, yes or no? That's your track. Did I show up for me today? Did I show up for me in what I wanted to do today? That's what you track, yes or no? Did I show up? Track completion, not perfection, because completion builds identity. You're able to say, I did show up for me today. I did show up in what I wanted to do today. I did show up in how I wanted to present today. I did show up today. So track completion, not perfection. Did I do it perfectly? No. Did I show up? Yes. That's what matters. I showed up. I showed up for me. Celebrate wins. We want to hold on the celebration until we reach 50 pounds lost. Celebrate your wins. This is important. Not in a big dramatic way, but in acknowledgement. I showed up today. Today was a hard day, but I showed up today. Because if you don't acknowledge progress, you won't feel it. If you don't acknowledge those small wins, you won't feel it. And if you don't feel it, you won't continue. So celebrate your wins. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't even have to be public. But celebrate your wins. Celebrate when you show up for you. That is so vitally important. Celebrate when you show up for you. Because if you don't acknowledge it, you won't feel it. And if you don't feel it, then you won't continue. You won't have that drive, that motivation. So celebrate your wins. Did I show up for me today? Yes. Great. Then keep showing up. Every day, keep showing up. And stack the wins. 1 small win doesn't feel like much, but 5 in a row does. 10 does. 30 does. Now it's a pattern. Now it's momentum. Now it's identity. So stack the wins. Look back. Did I show up for myself today? Yeah, I did. Did I show up for myself yesterday? Yeah, I did. Did I show up for myself the day before? Yeah, I did. Now I'm starting to see a pattern of showing up for me. And that pattern is so massively important. It's so massively powerful. Focus on stacking days, stacking wins, stacking showing up. Focus on where you have shown up over and over, not just that one time, not just that one moment, not just that one space. Stack the wins. Patterns build momentum. Momentum builds identity. Focus on stacking the days, not chasing the results. So important. And that's where you start to shift your identity, because identity shift is so powerful. Instead of asking, did I do enough today? Ask, did I show up today? My identity is to show up for me. Did I show up today? Because look, enough is subjective. I mean, did I do enough for me? That's subjective versus what it is for you. Enough is subjective, but showing up is measurable. And when you consistently show up, you become someone who follows through. And that's the goal. When you consistently show up for you, you continue to show up time and again. And that's the goal, isn't it? To show up for you. All right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about your minimum standard for one area of your life. What is the minimum standard for one area of your life that you want to make a shift? Make it simple, make it realistic, and hit that standard every day for a week. And then look back. No matter what, hit that standard every day for a week. Maybe it's moving your body for 5 minutes. All right? That's your standard every day for a week. Hit it every day, no matter what. No excuses, no judgment. Hit it every day for a week. Because small wins don't feel powerful in the moment, but they build something powerful over time. Then you're able to go back and look and say, I showed up for me every day. I made this commitment and I showed up every day. And your brain starts to go, look at us. We can trust ourselves. We can trust what we promise to do. We can show up. And that's what happens when we start celebrating the small wins, the small things. We can show up for us. And that is so incredibly powerful. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please put it out there. Share it out there on your social media feeds. Share it out there on your Instagram, Facebook, X, or LinkedIn. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see the episodes. If you're on one of the listening platforms, then follow us, give us a rating and review. As always, you'll get notifications when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me, if you want to have a conversation, if you got some questions or you're not sure, you want me to come alongside you, I would love to do that. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. You know, as long as we have a common language, we can coach, we can work together. The beauty of our current technology platform is we can communicate across vast distances, face to face, virtually, but face to face. As long as we have a common language, we can coach. And if you feel like you're stuck, or you feel like you're not sure, you feel like you want to try something else, then reach out to me. Let's see what we can do together. Let's see if there's some way that we can come alongside each other and we can walk you into a better tomorrow, a better future. Again, and when I say that, it doesn't mean that I think that you're bad. No, it's not. There's no judgment or criticism. It's just a realization that something needs a little bit of energy and power and choice. So see if I can come alongside you. If I can, I would love to. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. It's got all my contact information. I'd love to hear from you, because at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.